going to have to ask the question. And if the answer is no, then the penalty's death. I may very well have to put a bullet in the back of my dad's head. Their views are this. They believe that society is going to collapse on its own or from man-made events, and they want to speed up the collapse of society. And they want to do it through guerrilla warfare tactics. We take out a power grid. We take out a water system by poisoning it. So at that point, I'd gained enough trust to be brought in to the murder plot. You're talking about going and buying catch bags that attach to your AR so it catches the brass so you don't leave it. We're going to leave all of our electronics at a campsite. We're going to go to a pay-by-the-hour motel. We're going to scrub ourselves, make sure there's no dead skin that can come off. When I went back to the office to run the FBI's training, I told everybody. The 19-year-old led carbine training, and it was good. They could get the drop on a lot of average Joes.
Let's talk about the base then. So I guess I hadn't heard of this group or even groups like this prior to hearing you talk about it.
A lot of people have. A lot of law enforcement hasn't.
I bet, man. And it's pretty shocking stuff that we'll be talking about. But I guess similar to the Outlaws, just explain to people kind of what this group's ideology is and then how you ended up getting into it.
Sure. So the accelerationist white supremacy view goes like this. Number one, they hate the government. So don't think Republican, Democrat, right, left. That's not it. They hate the government. They want a Hitler's Germany. That's what they want, which is what a neo-Nazi usually wants anyway. But with accelerationists, they go about it by different means. An accelerationist is their views are this. They don't believe there's a political solution that can save the white race. They believe that society is going to collapse on its own or from man-made events, and they want to accelerate. They want to speed up the collapse of society because in their mind, when the collapse of society happens, then they can come in, clean house, and have their own ethno-state. That may not necessarily mean the entire United States, but I can tell you that when I was in the base, my cell, CELL, was looking at property. My cell and the Maryland cell were looking at property in the Appalachian Mountains. There was a Northwest, Midwest, Detroit, out of Detroit area in Michigan. They were looking at property in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. The Pacific Northwest, they already had property. The leader of the base had property in the Pacific Northwest. So that kind of compound idea, we run our own thing, we are our own doctors and everything. Again, not a lot of afterthought on some of that stuff, but that's the idea. And they want to do it through like guerrilla warfare tactics. You're not going to see an accelerationist out on the street in a hood and a robe or walking down the street with signs, protesting and yelling racial slurs. They don't want to do that. They believe, number one, that makes them a mark, lets everybody know who they are, and it does no good. What they believe is, let's do guerrilla warfare tactics. Let's do small attacks like we take out a power plant or power grid. We take out a water system by poisoning it. You kill lefties. You kill anti-fascists. You kill non-whites. Burn their businesses, stuff like that, slash their tires. Anything to create chaos, to start the downfall of society. So a lot of times when I'm teaching, I say, like, remember that year when everything was being burnt and towns were they're sitting up on a hill and they're laughing. They're like, man, we hope the cops start shooting these people start shooting the cops, when we can come in and clean up afterwards. And that is one of the plots we uncovered in that case, something very similar. They were going to start popping rounds at a Second Amendment gun rally, protest that was going to be in January of 2021 in Virginia, because the governor at that time was a Democrat who was running pretty tough on gun control. So they knew that like militia, Second Amendment, 3%er people would be there. They knew there'd be protesters and probably cops, and their idea was, hey, if we can pop a couple of shots, maybe nobody knows who's it coming from, and everybody just starts shooting each other. Maybe that's the beginning of the Boogaloo, D-Day. But I will also say that what I learned through time of being in the movement and working those types of cases and developing sources of information afterwards is that when we were doing the base and there was Adam Waffen, that was kind of like the two main accelerationist groups. Everywhere else it was kind of considered cringe. by the time, let's just say a year or two after we took down the base, like we were being told that 90% of your white nationalist groups were all claiming accelerationism. And that's not good. And also, in most accelerationist groups that I was aware of, if you scratch the surface enough, whether they say they're pagan or the Christian identity, most of the ones I interview were pagan, but that's not to say that they're pagans for real. Just like white supremacists take the Bible to come up with the stories for Christian identity, which is not Christian, it's not Christ following, it's called Christian identity. It was totally white supremacist. They were doing that with paganism. I've got good friends who are pagans, peaceful, spiritual people, and what the white supremacy movement was doing with that, kind of like Hitler, he was looking at Norse mythology and stuff like that as well. They're taking it and twisting it to their own ideology. But what we found is if you scratch enough in a lot of these groups, there's usually a member of Order of Nine Angles, or there's some other groups out there now, and those are heavily satanic white supremacy groups. And when you look at Order of Nine Angles and others of that nature, they are big, at least they're proponents of, and if you get into their chat rooms, you're going to see some horrific stuff because they're big on sexual abuse, rape, and pedophilia.
Oh,
yeah.
Like big on it, like how or why? Like
advocating for it.
How do you? But what's the justification there? I
didn't. Fortunately and unfortunately, I didn't get to infiltrate one of those groups. But yeah, I mean, this is coming out more now. It's just satanic stuff, man. You know. So if I'm painting it into the siege culture, which is that accelerationist view, probably when the boogaloo happens, they're saying they're just gonna rape kids and women all they want. Because people in the base said that. They were like, hey, because I told them, I'm like, hey, I ask, hey, I see we're always talking about this. We're going to get our own ethno-state. We're neo-Nazis. Yeah, bam, 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 bam. I haven't heard you guys talking about me getting our own compound or getting our own ethno-state. I haven't heard any of you guys talk about procreation for the white race. You know what I mean? And I've got a woman, but she's not being shared. So, and that's when the two of them were like, oh, we're just going to rape the women. And I went, and I smirked, and I looked at the one guy who had a girlfriend, and I go, you guys don't have a lot of experience with women, do you? And they're like, well, what makes you say that? And I go, that might work for a little while, but at some point you're going to have to go to sleep, and you might wake up missing a few parts, you know? So, yeah, but it just gets dark. You can just see some really bad stuff. So we started hearing about the base, I think originally from our World Working Partners, because it wasn't just American. It was a worldwide, transnational ties. I mean, we had members in the base. It ebbs and flows. Some come in and leave, but we had members in Australia, Canada, South Africa, Germany, UK, I think Norway too. Popping in.
So how do you end up getting into the base?
Well, they were actively recruiting, as they always did, which is another scary thing. Kids gaming online, or you're hitting these things where you're like Discord, Telegram, Gab. There was Wire, Riot, Threema, 4chan, 8chan, 12chan. There's all kinds of stuff. There's probably well more now. But all of those kind of sell as being encrypted, kind of like a WhatsApp kind of thing. So being encrypted, and you can do vocal calls on it, or you can talk, or you can just post. And I'm not saying that, of course, all of that's not set up for bad things, but I'm telling you, bad people go there to use that stuff. So they were recruiting actively on Gab, and I went in there and I answered some of their stuff. They always left their email at the bottom, and save your race, join the base. Show some training, and then there would be a propaganda video for recruitment. And once I got in the group, the standard was this: every video we did for propaganda had to be better than the last one. That was the rule. It's got to be better than the last one. Got to be bigger and better to recruit more. So I answered, and after about a week or so of going back and forth in emails, being drilled and grilled on all kinds of things. I'm answering them, and then I was told to download the Wire app and hit their moniker, and I got my moniker. And I ended up doing, it was the July of 2019, I did about an hour and 15-minute panel interview on Wire. I mean, it's probably like I think I counted like 4 or 5 voices. I knew the leader's voice. He went by the monikers Roman Wolf and Norman Spears. Roman Wolf and Norman Spears. His real name is Ronaldo Nazaro. An American citizen, Army, Intel, had some kind of contracting job with the Department of Justice at one point. Villanova grad, but somewhere in there took a radicalization turn, and now resides in St. Petersburg, Russia, with a Russian wife and Russian kids. And I would bet, even though I'm retired, I would bet he's still on a no-fly list. But yeah, they would always say, "Well, he's not the leader. There's no leader in the Bay." He was clearly the leader. I mean, he was the leader. I mean, he would hit me on the side. "Hey, you've been a great asset to the ranks. You know, you're really killing it out there." And you know, had we not uncovered things, we might have pushed it farther and maybe be my own cell leader or something. I don't know. But we started uncovering murder plots and crazy. I mean, they were saying crazy stuff, but again, saying crazy stuff, you got to kind of get really specific on like, "I'm going to kill you" kind of thing in a text or an email. That's a little more direct. And now I can say, "Yeah, you're clearly threatening me now." But just to spew hate, I mean, you can walk out in the street and say, "I hate every racial slur you want." So you're sitting there, you're listening to all this crazy rhetoric, and sometimes there might be some alcohol, sometimes not. And now you're starting to hear like, when the boogaloo happens, I love my parents with all my heart, but I'm going to have to ask the question, are you fascist? And if the answer is no, that automatically makes you anti-fascist, and the penalty's death. I may very well have to put a bullet in the back of my dad's head. And then the other one says, "I could do it, but I'd cry myself to sleep every day. I think I'd rather somebody else do it." And then the other one, who I thought was way more farther down the path because he was messing with 09A and stuff, actually said, "You guys are farther than me. I don't think I could kill my parents." And I'm sitting there just listening going, what in the hell, man? You know, would you say that if your dad was sitting here right now? That's what I'm saying. Like, what are we? And then if you want to say, "Oh, they're just kids going through a phase and they're spewing shit." Okay. But then they took overt acts in furtherance of those crimes. You know, scouting houses, going by the house, looking to where they thought an Antifa couple lived. I was there. You know, we'd scout it, look at it, talking about what we're going to do. The game plan changed a few times, but you're talking about going and buying catch bags that attach to your AR. So if you do have to shoot, it catches the brass so you don't leave it. You're talking about using a revolver, using a silencer so no brass is ejected. You're talking about research that has been done to the point to where we're going to leave all of our electronics at a campsite. We're going to go to a pay-by-the-hour motel. We're going to scrub ourselves, make sure there's no dead flake skin that can come off, Vaseline on facial hair, balaclavas so nothing drops, like hazmat. You're going to tape your sleeves to your gloves, your pants to your boots. And the eventual plan was 4 of us were going to enter. One was going to stand guard at the front bay window, while me and the other one, I was requested to go and help murder everybody. And it didn't matter if there were kids or animals. They didn't care. And then we're going to set the house on fire and burn it to the ground. That was one. The other plot was with the Maryland kind of Delaware crew, and that was the one on the gun rally. But those guys, the Baltimore FBI, unbelievable case agent, Rashid Harrison, he was working it so hard out of Baltimore, and the case team in Seattle and everywhere else. Everybody was busting their tail, but they got a Title III wiretap, and they were watching these two guys in their apartment and listening to the conversations there. Holy cow! Like I thought some of the stuff I heard them say was crazy, like when I was there, but the stuff they were coming up with on their own in an apartment, I was like, dude, I mean, the dude's got a 6.5 Creedmoor with a $6,000 thermal scope. They made a ghost gun for the Canadian who had absconded here illegally after being found out of being a white supremacist. They actually messed up because when they went to shoot it, they made the ghost gun, but they went to shoot it, it was double firing every time. So they changed that because they were getting stared at. They didn't want to have something illegal. And he had a thermal scope. And I helped them sight them in. But they were talking stuff like take out a cop at night, because if you take out a cop, well, as soon as he's done with the car stop, whatever pulls up, and boom, just pop him right in the head. You go down there, now you get a bulletproof vest, you get another weapon, you get ammo, whatever things they've got because it was all about building your kit. Everybody's building their kit, man. Some people have got a good kit going, some are just starting. This is the best gear to get. Condor sucks or whatever they want to say, and then you need to get this stuff. I mean, some of these guys were no jobs, other than maybe a side hustle here and there. I'm talking there's no 9 to 5, right? And they've got several guns, a lot of ammo. They've got plate carriers. They're wearing Cry Precision JPC plate carrier. That's the same thing FBI SWAT wears, same thing HRT wears. I'm like, where did you get the money for that shit, Now they didn't have any like Daniel's Defense weapons or anything, but they had good stuff. And you see all that and all that planning, and then we were able to collect evidence of them doing acts in furtherance of to appease the local solicitors or DA's office and the United States Attorney's office. And we ended up taking it down like the week of the 17th in January of 2021. Is that right? 2020. No, 2020. Sorry, COVID year. COVID was already here. Nobody was calling it COVID yet. It was 2020. Yeah. So 2019. That was only a 7-month case for me, but it was a fast-paced, almost 24/7 case, because the more people you identify, the more cases are being opened. And they're being opened all over the United States in different field offices. So once a month, we would get everybody, case teams and everybody on one call. There was over 100 people on the call, and you're dealing with overseas and you're dealing with this. And they ended up, that was some crazy stuff with that group. But we were able to thwart the attack.
Damn, dude. Yeah, I'm just thinking about like, and you trained with them to, I guess, make these propaganda videos, but also like build yourselves up skill wise. And I'm just like, I'll tell you what I'm thinking. There's like former tier 1 operators that are teaching CQB on freaking Patreon these days. Like, how good were they like tactically? And
well, the first time I met them face to face, and I got checked face to face, and they almost found the tracker. Like in the first 2 to 3 minutes, they almost found the tracker on my truck. I was like, what the heck? Another little scary moment. But he missed. Luckily, he stepped away, and I lived to fight another day. But the next day, we did firearms and tactics training. It was led by a 19-year-old kid. No military. His dad took him to the gun range, apparently, and maybe gaming. But it was good. I'm lead tactical instructor, not saying I'm something awesome. There are people all over the United States that got my skill set and better. But if you've had that training and you're an instructor, you can do that. Of course, I wasn't instructing them. I let them teach me. I'm not going to help them get better either, because that's not smart, right? But yeah, we're out on a 100-acre property shooting submachine guns and pistols. And I'm like, I hope they don't turn. You know what I mean? You're like, and I'm like watching from the back, because when it started, I'm like, the instructor in me, I'm like, I'm sitting in the back because I don't know what kind of. I'll tell you, the guy, the cell leader, Luke, and Pestilence was the 19-year-old. There, I was pleased to see that their range safety was good. It was good, and I was like, okay, I feel a little better about shooting with these guys at least. And but I'm talking about just quick firing and quick, not necessarily quick peaks, but it made me think several things. It made me think when I went back to the office to run the FBI's training, I told everybody, I'm like, y'all need to, I know we tell you to take it serious, but I just spent 4 days or 3 days with this violent white supremacy group, and a 19-year-old led carbine training, and it was good. I said, it's not the best, and I did see some things they messed up on, but they could probably get the drop on a lot of average Joes. So it's just like, dadgum, man. And then you start uncovering more and more. But yeah, that was it. It's all about training, preparing for the boogaloo, building your kit, your belt, your ammo, your uniform. Of course, they wore camouflage. I infiltrated them. We wore camouflage, but only Flecktarn, because that's the German camo pattern, right? And it's the best for anywhere because the Germans said it was, right? So that kind of stuff. It was crazy.
Scary, man. Just think about what kind of damage, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, hopefully they learn the error of their ways. I mean, they're great things. If you get out, you can go to Life After Hate. You can meet people who are just like you or were worse than you, and can help with that kind of stuff. But yeah, man, that's scary. And then the blind eye of the parents thing, that's the putting on the blinders, and you can't tell me, or you're not going to sell me. You're not going to sell me on the fact that you thought it was just a phase when, I mean, like at least once a month, a bunch of dudes are coming on your property with Flecktarn and balaclavas, and we're shooting submachine guns. And it's not like we're not talking about what we're planning on doing. And then you come down on the under the awning of the barn and have a few drinks with us, and you hear all the crazy rhetoric. And then you know your kid doesn't really have a job. He didn't have a car till the end. He bought it, and it wouldn't run that good. But he's got bulletproof vest and ammo and rifles, and then he's got a shrine right there in his room, which is the skull that's now been cleaned of the ram that was stolen, and we sacrificed at a ritual and drank its blood and carried its head around. That head is now clean. It's the skull with the horns, and it's got swastikas and other white supremacy stuff with some runes for Norse. And on one side of the skull is Mein Kampf, Hitler's book, and on the other side is the book Siege, which is the whole accelerationist view. That was just 7 months. Yeah, that's more than a phase, buddy. And you can hate me. I know you want to hate me. But I'll say this to the dad who's been interviewed and said some things. This is what I'll say. I was just as shocked when his son told me we were going to go kill somebody. I thought we were going to put up posters and flyers because that's what it was looking like to me. But the case team knew something. They thought something was up. And they're like, but why did he say bring guns? I go, I don't know. But that doesn't make any sense. I mean, and that's it. I went to the house. He walks out and he says, well, essentially, we're going to whack some people. And I'm like, it's way different than putting up posters. And that's what I'm talking about. And then I talked about all the research that was done. It was also, he'd researched that, I don't know where he read it, but apparently when people murder somebody for the first time, sometimes they lose control of their bowels. So he was suggesting we all wear Depends.
What are those?
The adult diapers.
Oh.
Adult diapers. So if you crap or pee yourself, you don't ruin your clothes. I guess. I'm like, I didn't say I never killed anybody, but I looked at him and I went, I think I'm okay. I don't need diapers. But yeah, that was a crazy wild ride.
What's up, guys? Thank you so much for taking the time to watch the interview. If you got anything out of this video at all, please like the video, leave me a comment, tell me what you thought of the video, tell me who you'd like to see on the show. I really appreciate the support. It goes a long way on these platforms, as you guys know. Most importantly, I have some excellent interviews coming up in the future that I'm really, really excited about. So please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of them. But that's it. Thank you for your support. I really appreciate it, and hope to see you again soon.